What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. I'm here with a very special guest tonight. I got Unit 522. What's up, dude? How's it going?
Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude. We were just talking, and you mentioned to me the last time you were on the podcast, we did the Strangers #1, and that was
Yeah,
what, maybe 2017, 2018? It was a while ago, though. It wasn't anytime
yeah.
recent.
I remember I was still living in Gainesville at the time, so it was a while ago, for sure.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then I remember The Strangers #2 was coming out, and you said, if I ever watch that and I podcast on it, I got to include you. So here
I
we
think it
are.
had been out, and I was like, I didn't like it.
Oh yeah, mate, dude. Honestly, that's probably what happened because I was doing
Yeah.
my research for the movie tonight, and I saw that it came out in 2018,
Oh,
and I was
okay.
like,
So it wasn't 2017 that I was
oh yeah, I guess
on your
not.
podcast. It must have been like 2018. I don't know.
Still though, it came out March 2018, and I
Yeah,
swear to God, dude, I thought this movie came out last year. I guess I don't know. I guess I'm way
yeah.
wrong.
Both of us got our timetables mixed up.
Time flies, I guess.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
so yeah, dude, I was really looking forward to doing this with you tonight, and so I didn't necessarily want to watch this movie because I had pretty much heard bad things about it. Even you at
Yeah,
first said it was like, it's not like what you would expect, and I heard that from
yeah,
a lot of people, and so I really didn't have the drive, I guess you could say, to want to watch this movie.
yeah,
But it was free. It was on HBO, so I was like, I'm gonna give it a chance, see what it's like. And
yeah.
dude, I started watching it, and I thought the opening was pretty strong,
Hmm.
and then it started getting into the characters a little bit, and then when the bad people started attacking and messing with them, then it just took off, and it was like full throttle for the rest of the movie. I felt. By the way, this first little bit of this podcast is going to be completely spoiler free for anyone who
Okay,
hasn't seen it. So let's try to veer away from plot details or anything of the sort. Okay.
got
Um,
it.
so the movie we're doing is The Strangers Pray at Night. Apparently, this did come out in 2018. The ratings that Rotten Tomatoes gave it was a 40%, which I'm completely baffled by. And then the IMDb score was 5.2 out of 10, which is also fairly low.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we're gonna get into it, and we're gonna get into our ratings. But for me personally, I definitely think those scores are pretty low for the quality of movie I think this is.
Maybe I can
Uh,
play a little bit of devil's advocate and maybe
yeah,
get into the mindset of why it's so low. I
sure.
think a
Spoiler
lot of
free.
people were expecting something more like the first film, because you have to admit that it's like night and day, two different types of slasher films per se. Because the
Completely.
first film was more of a slow burn, right?
Oh
And I
yeah,
think people were expecting that coming into this film, and it subverted their expectations. And when that happens, people react differently to that. And I think people need to go back and see the movie, because I was in this mindset too, and now I actually like the movie. So for sure,
yeah. And like basically what you just said is what I heard from a ton of people is that it's
yeah,
not like the first one. And I think The Strangers, the first one from 2008, was it was a hit and miss with some people. It was
yeah,
either like this movie was great, or some people were like this was boring, barely anything happened. It's not the movie I thought it was going to be, and it was a letdown. For me, I'm kind of I guess I'm kind of mixed between those two people. Like for me, I think
yeah.
it's a good movie, but there are parts where it drags on, and there are parts where it's just not even scary. It's just you're just seeing what's going to happen to the characters. But yeah, I was excited about seeing this one after you told me that you
Yeah,
ended up liking it. So
this one, it has more of a 1980s feel to it. Going back and watching
yeah,
it again, it really feels like it throws back to the heyday of slasher films from the 1980s. It was just I don't know. I'm not good at wordplay, so forgive me if I stumble a little bit.
it's all good.
um, but the soundtrack was great for this film. There were some really
Yep,
strong scenes.
yep.
One of the problems that I had first watching it, I had a problem identifying with the main character, because I am the polar opposite from a teenage girl. And I really could not identify with what she was going through. But coming back around and watching it again, it's okay if I don't identify with the main character. It shouldn't hinder my ability to enjoy this movie for what it is.
Well, if you take Halloween from 78, um,
78, yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, I can't relate myself to a high school girl who babysits
Yeah.
little kids at all, but
Well, to
I
be fair,
still,
she was like 20 years old when she filmed that.
yeah. But still, I'm not a 20-year-old girl either.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can't relate to her either, but still, I can put myself in her position and try to feel what she's feeling during the movie. And really, that's just a testament to their acting and the dialogue and the ability to pull that off, which I felt like Jamie Lee Curtis could do pretty well in Halloween. This one, I don't know. We'll get into it.
Yeah. Let's
But
do it.
the plot of this one goes: a family of four staying at a secluded mobile home for. I'm sorry. Let me just scratch that over. A family of four staying at a secluded mobile home park for the night are stalked and then hunted by three masked psychopaths. That pretty much explains the movie tit for tat exactly.
Yeah.
It was directed by Johannes Roberts, which when I heard that name, it instantly I knew who that director was. He directed 47 Meters Down, #1 from 2017, and 47 Meters Down from 2019, the sequel. Did you see any of those two movies?
I've seen the first one and I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Oh, well, let's podcast on that sometime. Because I
Yeah.
liked it too, dude. I feel like I'm in the minority there. I feel like a lot of people hated that movie, and I loved
I've
it.
I've never seen the second one, so I can't talk about that. But the first one was it was really good. I liked that movie a lot.
Yeah, I did too. I actually did a video movie review back in, I think, 2016, 2017. Oh, must
Yeah.
have been 2017. Yeah.
I'm always a sucker for a good shark film. You know, I was a big
Oh,
fan
yeah.
of Jaws and the Meg with Jason Statham.
Yeah.
I love shark movies, man. So,
Do you like Sharknado?
oh yeah, man. I actually watched that. I watched that movie on my honeymoon.
Mm,
Like we were on a cruise ship and I had my laptop and I had put the movie onto my laptop before we left.
yeah.
And we were bored one night and this was one of the days where like you were completely out at sea, like
Hmm.
you didn't stop at an island, and we were kind of bored, so we're just put in Sharknado, and I was surprisingly very entertained by that film. I would definitely watch it again, and I was surprised to see the dude from Home Alone in there, not
Oh, yeah,
not
yeah. The guy who
not the
passed
kid, the
away.
dad,
Yeah,
yeah,
John Hurd. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's
So
John Hurd. Yeah. Um,
not
I
a good
was
with
too.
names, so I'll
He's
take
like,
your word on that.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's his name. Something Hurd for sure. But yeah, he was in that movie too, and like he was like the drunk guy at the bar. I feel the same way about Sharknado when that came out. Well, first of all, I was like, this is the worst piece of crap I've ever seen, but I enjoyed it, like you said, thoroughly. But yeah, I'm a sucker for a good shark movie too. So 47 Meters Down, I definitely enjoyed that one. This one was written by Brian Bertino and Ben Katay. Katay. Brian Bertino actually wrote the first one. Did you know that?
Yeah, I'm looking at the wiki pages. I have them up on my screen now. So
Yeah, and actually, the first Strangers was based off of an actual experience that Brian Bertino experienced when he was a kid or a teenager
nice.
or something. Yeah, so it's kind of a cool little insight right there. Uh, this movie stars Bailey Madison as Kinsey, Lewis Pullman as Luke, Martin Henderson as Mike, the dad, and Christina Hendricks as Cindy, the mom. Um, so again, I want to get into our thoughts. Spoiler
Okay.
free, remember that. Just kind
All
of like
right.
what you thought about the movie. So I'll start off this one. I liked this movie tremendously, straight
Mm.
up. Again, I went into it thinking that I was going to hate it and that I was just going to have to suffer through it in order to do this podcast. And in the beginning, with the characters, I definitely thought I was going to suffer because I can tell you that the mom, Cindy, she was one of the worst characters, I thought. And also Bailey, who plays Kinsey, she was okay in moments, but there's a lot of moments throughout the movie where she is crying, and
Yeah.
her crying face was pissing me off, dude.
Yeah, the acting from the lead could have been better.
Yeah, definitely could have.
Even going back and watching it, like, but you know, low budget horror films. What like you have to take what you can get, I guess.
You think this is low budget though?
No, oh no, like it doesn't have the same type of budget like a Hollywood blockbuster would have. They're probably working with a good budget with the studio that's behind this.
Yeah.
I meant like they are the word I'm looking for. It's not as it just doesn't have the same type of release that a blockbuster Marvel movie would have. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like
Yeah,
more low profile than your average blockbuster, I guess. But they were working with a $5 million budget, which was yeah, I'm looking at the right page. $5 million. That's not a whole lot for a budget, to be honest with you.
it's really
So
not. But if you think about the movie and the locations, the settings, the actors, the gore, like everything about it, it definitely seems like it can fit underneath that $5 million budget. There
oh
wasn't like
yeah, like
special
when
effects.
when you start talking about like the actual production of this movie, I think it looks absolutely great.
Yep.
They put those sets to good use. I love the setting because I used to work as a nighttime security guard back in the day, and I patrolled a RV park that was a lot like the one in the film. So I enjoyed
Wow.
that. I think they nailed that, especially with the lighting.
Yeah.
At night, you have those street lights with the yellow tent. You
Ugh.
know, that's just eerie, dude.
That is. That's
That's
really
a really
nice.
good setting for a horror film, and I did appreciate the set pieces with this film for sure. They nailed the that aesthetic in that regard.
They did, and I was even thinking about that too, the set pieces, because if you really think about it, it's basically just one big open lot, and it has
Hmm.
some grass or whatever that is, fake grass, and then it just has a few different mobile homes and then a pool. That's like almost the entire location of the movie. And I'm like, dude, what a cheap location. Like they didn't have to go sightsee. They didn't have to like do a lot of they probably just had to bring in a few mobile homes and a pool and like that's it. So it's pretty smart on their end. As far as the killers go, I thought they were great in this movie. I thought they were a huge step up from the first one. There were moments in the first one, especially with the masked guy with the axe, where he was eerie. You know, where
Hmm.
he was standing outside of the window when he was going down the hallway with the axe right behind Scott Speedman's friend, right before they blow his head off. I thought that was good and that was eerie, but I just thought him and the other two, I guess, psychopath masked girls. I thought
Hmm.
they just were so good in this one.
Yeah, definitely. From the first film, like you said, they had a more of a creeping vibe to them. They were just like a little bit more violent in this film, to be honest with you. They really stepped that up. And even when I didn't like this film, I thought the strangers themselves were actually pretty good in the sense that they really stepped it up from the first film. The first film they were like kind of creeping around before they made their move, and this one like it seems right off the bat they just get right down into business and start trying to murder the characters. I don't want to get into spoilers too much, but obviously that's what this film is about: people getting stalked and harassed by these masked psychopaths. So
Yeah, you know, someone probably is gonna bite it. Um, I thought the killers were good. I thought the characters were kind of weak in the beginning, but they got better, which I'll talk about in spoilers. And
yeah.
then I loved the way the movie flowed. It was fast paced. It ended really strong, um, to where I was completely satisfied when it ended.
Hmm.
And yeah, dude, I think it was a really good time. And I had a good time with it, and I thought it was a good, really good movie. Um, is there any last spoiler-free thoughts you want to throw in here before we rate it?
I think we pretty much covered everything. Like I said, I was really expecting the first film rehashed, which is probably why I didn't warm up to it at first. But with I'm a horror film fanatic, so if I don't
Right.
like something, I usually go back and give it a second chance. And I think the last spoiler-free thing I can say is if you didn't like this film at first, kind of go back and watch it again because, like I did, in my opinion, completely changed. So I think this film just hit me at the wrong time. I don't know. And expecting the first film over again is the wrong attitude to have.
I agree. I totally agree. Um, go into this if you haven't seen this movie yet, and you've always been on the fence of it. Go into this one knowing that the bad guys from the first one are going to be in this one, but they're not really like they were in the first one. And the setting and the characters are pretty much nothing like they were in the first one. It's almost a completely different movie with the same antagonist pretty much throughout the movie. Um, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's got a pretty low rating from a lot of people. A lot of
Yeah,
people
I
don't
don't think
like
it
it.
deserves what I've been seeing on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. I think this film is a little bit better than what they're giving it credit for.
Well, then let's get into our ratings.
Okay, cool.
So basically, it's going to be 1 through 10. 1 is like, this is the worst thing you've ever seen. How did this ever get made? 10 is like, this is the best movie that's ever been made. I think it's nearly perfect. And 5 is just a completely like average movie.
Mhm.
So for me, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Um, I feel like,
Generous.
and I kind of thought you would say that. And I'll get into it more why I would rate it an 8 out of 10 in spoilers,
Mhm.
but maybe I don't know, maybe I just am coming off of the hype of it. I watched it
Yeah.
I think last night or the night before because dude, I just have nothing but good things to say about this movie. Like there are a few things that, like I said, through a certain characters kind of
Mhm.
suck in acting. Um, kind of they're kind of stereotypical, a stereotypical brother sister in a movie and a stereotypical mom and dad. So I got to knock points down for that. I also have to knock points down for the fact that they try to do the whole knock at the door is Tamara home gig again, and I
Yeah.
felt like this time felt way more flat than the first one
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. Definitely, I agree 100%.
And so I mean, they were stuck between a rock and a hard place because they can either do the same thing they pulled on the first one and they have to somehow nail it with the same type of intensity that the first one had, or they need to do something different and then you risk it not being as good as the first one. So what they ended up doing was pretty much mirror imitating the first one and they didn't
Mhm.
pull it off as clean as they should have. So for that, I got to knock it down. Some of the acting, I got to knock it down. Some of the dialogue definitely sucked. Got to knock
Yeah.
that down. Um, but still, other than that, dude, like the killing is great. The characters or the killers are great themselves. The setting, the genre, everything we already talked about was fantastic. So for me, an 8 out of 10 is a pretty high score. But
Yeah.
I think it deserves it. So tell me why I'm wrong.
You pretty much nailed all the. I would give it a 7 out of 10. I
Hmm.
wouldn't go 8. You pretty much nailed all the problems that I have. Except I would point out that there is a lack of chemistry between the characters. Like most of film's problems are with the not the killers, but the characters of the film.
Yeah.
There's not really chemistry. There's some really awkward moments. There's some really stupid decisions that are made that make absolutely zero sense. And my main issue with this film is that aspect in general. And for me, I guess that affects my rating more than it does yours. But for me, that's really the only thing I can really think of that really just took me out of the experience. Sometimes was just the lack of chemistry between the characters. There were some parts where the dialogue was really wooden, and it just it ruined the atmosphere a little bit for me. It just kind of took me out of the story. So I,
Dude,
I,
I
I would give it
completely
a 7 out of 10.
I agree. And honestly, like when I was writing my score down, I was like 7, 8, 7, 8. Like, you know what I mean? I was wavering back and forth. So the fact that you said 7, like that could have easily been my score too. But the
Yeah.
reason I bumped it up a little bit higher was simply for the fact that the problems that I had with this movie, I would say is maybe like 20% max. And then 80% things I loved. So in that
Uh,
sense, I have to give it a higher score than that.
Real quick to anybody listening and to you, I think there's a slight delay between us. So if I end up cutting you off, I really do not mean to.
Everything on my end has been clean so far.
I think you're coming in on my end at a slight delay, but it's not like anything that is going to ruin the flow anyway.
Okay. Well, it's whatever. I'm sure people can figure it out anyways.
Yeah. Just wanted
So
to point that out. If I'm cutting you off, I really don't mean to.
oh, okay. Well, you haven't so far, so it's all good, man. All right. So again, I give an 8 out of 10. Unit are giving it a 7 out of 10. That's still a fairly high score. So I mean, if you've been on the fence and you're not sure, I think those scores could pretty much wave you over to go check it out. So once you do check it out, come back, listen to the rest of this podcast, and definitely comment down below and let us know, what you thought of the movie once you did see it, or if we did convince you to go see it. Okay. So I'm going to give you about a 5-second warning. Everybody turn off your video. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. Spoiler talk. All right, so unit. I want to know who was your
Hmm.
favorite and who was your least favorite character of the four parents and the kids.
I think the least favorite character is the mom. Just kind of naggy, annoying, and I don't know. Like, I didn't care much for the main character either, because I can't really identify with her. It's not I didn't hate her or anything. It's just like, you're a teenager, you don't know jack shit about real problems and stuff like that. I found myself like saying that out loud when she was like, ugh. Like I forget about what the problem was. I think they were sending her off to a boarding school, right? Because she was having problems and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like it's hard to feel sympathy for you because I have a little sister and she's annoying as hell, and it's just like it's just like I was reminded of that, and yeah, I mean, I think it would be a tie between the main character and the mother
You
for
got
me.
to you got to dislike one a little bit more than the other.
I guess if I had to pick one, it would be
Yeah.
the mom,
Okay. So who was your favorite character?
the man in the mask for sure. Just a
Well, out of the mom, dad, and the brother and sister.
okay. The dad, hands down, he was very likable, goofy guy. Kind of just clueless sometimes. Kind of reminded me of my old man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would have to pick him to be my favorite out of the characters. But if we're gonna include the villains, Man in the Mask, that's my boy. Doesn't give a shit. He'll just kill you.
Straight up. Okay, so my favorite, my least favorite, it differs a little bit from you, but my least favorite character was the mom, for sure.
Mhm.
She first of all, she was pretty, but she was also hard to look at because she had like those fake injection lips, and she just she seemed like an actor. You know what I'm saying? Like she didn't seem like a mom. She didn't seem like a genuine mom. Um, she just seemed like she was acting like a mom, and like there was even a phone call she makes to her, I guess it's her aunt and uncle, the ones who ended up getting killed, um
Yeah.
who own the trailer park or something. But she's making a call and she's like, hey, we're not going to be at this lake for till later. And that whole call that she made, and I thought it sucked, like her performance, the way her delivery of those lines. I thought it was just so amateur, dude. I don't know. You could just tell she was acting. I didn't like that. I did like though, however, when she got killed, because I thought her acting there was pretty good, but her dialogue was horrible.
I would have fought back a little bit, to be honest with you. Like the
Yeah,
situation that they were in, the um, the teenage girl escaped through the roof and she was left there when the girl broke in. I mean, at least put up a fight. Just stand there and scream at your daughter to run away. Come on, man. Like, your life is about to end. You're going to let some asshole sink their knife into you? No, fight back at least a little bit.
absolutely, dude. I know exactly what you mean. She like heists her up pretty much out of the
Yeah.
top of the trailer, and then she continues to keep her back turned against the
Hmm.
masked lady. And the girl just walks up, and there's even a moment where she walks up and she like puts her face next to the mom's face, and then
Yeah.
she's
Like,
standing
she
there
just
for a
stood there
second,
and the mom was just like, oh, go away. I'm
like
like, yeah,
run,
you helped your kid. Now, like,
elbow her
punch
or
that
something.
bitch or something.
Dude, yeah, exactly. Like, do fight back. You know what I mean? Or the first time she gets stabbed, like turn around, elbow her. You know what I mean? Like uppercut her jaw, dude. Do something, like try to fight. But she just stood there like, this is my fate. It's like, this isn't your fate, dude.
Yeah. Like, you have kids, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
would get them out of that situation, but after that, if that killer was coming through the door, I mean, you're telling me that you wouldn't, like, at least try to attack them or get the knife away from them or punch them or something?
exactly, dude. Turn
Like, don't just
around.
stand there and take it. You took care of your kid. Now, like, fend for yourself, man.
Yeah, dude, exactly. And that right there is one of the huge issues with the writing that I'm talking about. It's
Yeah.
just it's stupid stuff like that, dude. Like we shouldn't be able to sit here and come up with a better scenario. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like when you're writing a movie, when you're thinking of every different scenario and situation, you need to have all your tracks covered and you need to have the most sensible things happen. And the fact that he's like you can tell that Brian Bertino and Ben Katai or whatever, when they were writing this scene, they were probably like, dude, she's helping her daughter out, and then like she comes up from behind and gets stabbed in the back, dude, repeatedly. Yeah. And it's like someone should have stopped them and been like, no, 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 why isn't she turning around and fighting to defend herself and her daughter, like she just went
Yeah.
out like a chump.
if I was the director of this film and I read that in the script and we were going to shoot it, I would be like, I would be asking everybody, I'm like, okay, what's more impactful? What's more memorable? The girl, the mom helping her daughter out, which is great,
Yeah.
and then she just stands there and screams at her to run, and the killer breaks in and just kills her. I think what's more impactful would be put up a fight. There's going to be a struggle. The mom is going to die, but she's going to put up a fight. You know what I mean?
Because that's what would really happen.
And the character, like you point out, the character before was kind of a naggy soccer mom, one of those women that you hear talking on the phone, like when you're trying to take your daughter out for ice cream or something. There's always that bitch nearby that's just just killing the vibe, talking on her phone, doing whatever, just like you kind of roll your eyes. If she would have fought back against the killer, like in the last scene, I think it would have made me appreciate that character more. But no, like instead, like, yeah, she did help out her daughter, which is great.
Yeah.
But I feel like I would have had more respect for the character if she would at least try to fight back, because you want to see your kids grow up, right? You want to see them graduate. You want to see them do well. You're really just going to cave into some psycho with a knife, going to kill you off and going to rob you of that? That's what I'm thinking about, you know? And I don't even have kids. And
Yeah,
I'm thinking
yeah,
about that.
because it's logical, bro. And I have two kids, and the first priority when you have kids, obviously, keep them safe. But once
Absolutely.
they're safe, dude, next priority, keep me safe. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and I'm not just gonna go down like a freaking chump, bro. But even if I lost, at least I tried. Died fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's
Exactly.
what I
Like
like. Sorry, what's up?
you're going to be a grandfather someday. You're going to watch your son graduate. You're going to watch your daughter graduate. You want to be there for all that. You don't want to fucking die in some camper in some bathroom getting stabbed to death by some bitch with a knife.
Yeah. Did you see that movie on Netflix called Hush?
Yes, I did. It was a great film.
There's one part towards the end of it when the spoilers for this movie, but the main character, she's deaf and mute and stuff, and so
Mm.
she writes on her laptop because she's a writer, and one thing she writes before the final act is she goes, "Mom, Dad, love you or whatever. Want you to know I died fighting." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That way,
for
like
sure.
because she's probably gonna die, and when they find her body and they recover this, her mom and dad are gonna know, like, I didn't just like cave into this guy and die. Like, I fought for my life, and I died, but I fought dying. You know, and
Or-
like that's one thing that I loved about Hush is that line right there. Even though it wasn't even said, it was just typed. And in this one, the mom definitely should have put up a fight. But I think we've spent like way too much time
Yeah, I
talking
know, man.
about.
We well, we can move on now.
All right, so my favorite character was actually Luke, the brother. I thought he was the one that I had probably the least problem with.
Mm.
Um, the mom, we already talked about the problem I had with her. The dad, I had a problem with him, not so much once things started happening, but in the beginning act of the movie, like when he's first driving, and there's a line he says, which is a total cliched dad line, when he's loading up all the girls' stuff into his truck or whatever, and he goes, "Your
Mhm.
dad is the Tetris king." Like, okay, dude. Like, I don't know. Maybe it was the delivery, maybe it was the line, but I was like, that just doesn't seem like something somebody would actually say. Like, I'm the Tetris king. Like, okay, whatever. Or your dad is whatever. I didn't like it, but then he says one more line too after the kids start bickering in the car, where the kid is like, "You're a queef," and the dad's like, "What's queef?" And they're like, "Nothing." He goes, "No, seriously, what's queef?" Like, yeah, dude. Like, it's 2020 or 2018, and you don't know what a queef is, bro, and you're married. Like,
Yeah, dude.
they played him dumb in that sense, and I really didn't like that.
I guess my connection to that character is, like I said earlier, he reminds me of my old man, just clueless, just a lovable idiot. Sorry,
and
Dad.
and there, yeah, no, there are a lot of dads who are like that, innocent, naive, like
Yeah.
don't know certain things. This guy didn't appear that way to me. He seemed like
But
he was
just to be clear, my dad isn't an idiot. I just say
like,
that just to get people to understand the character a little bit.
dude, no judgment. I didn't think your dad was an idiot by any means.
No,
Um,
definitely not.
but the character, dude, like he seemed way more intelligent and clean cut than he was appearing to be in the beginning. And then there was even a moment when he starts to get frisky with his wife in the trailer park kitchen, or the
Oh,
trailer
that was
kitchen.
so cringy.
Yeah, because it didn't seem natural, and that goes
Yeah,
side by side with what you were saying about the characters didn't seem like they had good chemistry at all. They seemed
yeah.
like an on-screen couple more so than an actual natural husband and wife that have been married for clearly 17, 18 years, you know? Um, Yeah.
I think we both can agree in the first film, the acting from the
Liv
Liv
Tyler and Scott
Taylor.
Speedman.
Yes, I think that was a little bit better, well executed in that film than it was in this film, as far as the acting and the chemistry goes.
Oh, of course, dude. I mean, even in the first one, like what they're talking about is like the fact that he proposed and she turned him down, and you can
Yeah, you
see like,
felt that. You
oh
felt
yeah,
that.
you felt it. It didn't seem forced, and it didn't seem like something that somebody wrote. It seemed like it happened in real life. And
Hmm.
dude, even at the end when they were like pleading for their lives and they held hands and stuff, like it didn't seem like something that the director told them to do. It seemed like something you would actually do with your wife or fiance or whatever. You know, if you're in.
Absolutely, for sure.
Dude, we're
It's
both
depressing
married.
thinking about.
You know, it is very depressing. But you and I are both married men, and if we were tied up with killers about to kill us, dude, I would hold my wife's hand as I went out, dude. I'm sure you would do the same thing.
Absolutely, but I just want to let everybody know, you break into my house, I do have guns.
I have two guns, and they're concealed underneath my sleeves.
Good boy.
That's my arm guns. But but anyways, yeah. So Luke, the brother, was my favorite. I had the least problem with him, and I liked that he went out fighting as well, dude. Like he saved the sister towards the end. He ended up
Hmm.
like he had that really awesome moment with Total Eclipse of the Heart playing in the background with him and the killer fighting in the
Yeah.
pool, and he definitely just. I really liked his character. He got down to business, except
It
the
was.
moron. What?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay.
It was good to see that he had goals. You know, he was a baseball player, right? And
Yeah.
it was good to see that him and his sister were polar opposites in the fact that his sister was doing like bad in school and she was misbehaving and stuff like that. But he, on the other hand, was like this baseball player. He had plans in life, and I think a lot of people, especially in the suburban family, can relate to stuff like that. Like, oh, why can't you be more like your brother? I think that's a very
Yeah.
relatable dynamic for some people.
He was definitely the golden child,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
she was the screw up. Um. Okay. So my favorite killer is also the same as yours, the masked guy. He for
Yeah.
sure was the best. Like I said, I thought all three of the killers stepped up their game from the first movie quite a bit, and they
Hmm.
actually were suspenseful and way more creepy than the first one. Yet the masked man definitely outshined the other two girls. Every time he would clink down that axe and he was
Yeah.
dragging it on the ground, dude, it just like sent chills down my spine. I was like, bro, like this guy means business. And even at the end, once you think he's completely dead, and he ends up like hopping on the back of that pickup truck, and he was
Yeah, he
just
keeps
swinging
coming
that
back.
axe. Yeah, dude, I freaking loved it, and I'm so happy they didn't show his face because they ended up showing the other girl's face. Remember with
Yeah.
the yeah, dude. I was like, why did you do that? That was one of the brilliant things about the first one is that they never showed their face. So you never got to know who they were. They were just strangers. And this one you saw her face and you're like, why? You know?
I did like the like one of the only pieces of dialogue she had where the main character asks her why she's doing what she's doing, and she goes, "Why not?" And she's like spitting up blood while
And
she's saying
smiling.
this, and that just tells you everything that you need to know about their motives. They don't have a motive. They just do it just to do it.
Yeah, they didn't stalk you. They didn't plan this out. It's just they went to a spot, knocked on a door, you were home, you're the target.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. I love that, and I know what you mean, dude. Exactly. And I was so concerned for a minute when the girl or whatever was like, "Why are you doing this?" And I was like, "Please don't say because you were home. Like, please, for God's sakes, don't say that." And then she didn't. She was like,
Yeah.
"What? Because why not?" And I'm like, "Ugh." Dude, sadistic, evil. They remind me a lot of the Charlie Manson chicks, the ones that followed him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
And it's funny that you say that because I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood the other night. I'm not going to get into that, but the Charles Manson thing is kind of a thing in that movie. And
yeah.
the ending to that film is just perfect.
Yeah, I still need to see that one. You were telling me about that one.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything more than that. I was just telling you that the ending to that movie is just like, oh my God, I could watch it like 18,000 times and just laugh my ass off every time. But you are correct about the Charles Manson thing where they just sort of show up somewhere, knock on a door, and just start killing people. And that shit actually really happened. But we obviously know the motives behind the Manson murders and stuff. And I can't believe that guy got out and spent like the last 3 years of his life with actually a really attractive woman who was insane. Just
Who?
if I could go off on a tangent there.
Charles Manson?
Yeah, he was an old man when he got paroled, and like the last
No
3 years
way.
of his life, he got married to like this 25-year-old who claimed she didn't know anything about the Charles Manson murders, and she
Yeah.
just liked his uh, outlook when it comes to nature. I'm like, that's bullshit. Everybody knows who Charles Manson is.
Yeah, dude. I like his swastika thing on his forehead. He's not
Yeah,
a
he still
freak.
had that too.
Well, yeah, didn't he? I think he like cut it into his head or something. But
And look into it after the podcast, and you'll be like, oh, she's a pretty attractive girl. You know, you didn't think that was somebody who would be throwing themselves out like an 80-year-old man who was responsible for these brutal murders back in like the 60s or whatever.
dude, she probably is. It must have been some sort of fame thing for sure.
Yeah,
Wanted
I don't
that
know.
fame.
Anyway,
Um,
we can get back on topic.
but back, it's all good, man. I don't mind going off topic a little bit. Um, okay, so I want to talk about the opening scene, dude. The very opening scene when it starts off with the old lady and the old man. They're sleeping in bed, and then the old lady like gets up because she hears something, and
Hmm.
she's walking out, and she like opens up the blinds, and she sees that pickup truck just parked right out front, and she's like, "What?" You know, and she locks the door, and then she turns around and she sees that the girl is standing in the shadows, just staring at her, and dude, I loved that cold open right there. I thought it was fantastic, and it had a camera moment, a moment with the camera that I saw that they liked to do a lot throughout the movie. So let me say that more clearly because, as I said, that didn't make any sense. Uh, the cinematography of the movie, I noticed they had this one specific thing they would do where it's like they would zoom in on the character like really fast and weird, like an 80s style cut.
Yeah.
And they did that in the very first opening. They zoomed in on the killer girl, and I saw that they did that quite a bit throughout the movie, and it definitely did have that 80s feel, especially when it said strangers pray at night. I was like, dude, honestly, this is like a ripoff from Stranger Things. Like do you know what I'm saying? Do you agree?
Yeah. Like I feel like oh, we have a franchise called The Strangers that we haven't done anything with a while, and Stranger Things is doing big right now. Might as well dust that off, and you know,
Yeah.
Strangers, The Strangers, and Stranger Things. Let's do it.
I'm a little confused why they would make it have such 80s feel, such an 80s feel to it, because this
I
movie.
think the director, like from the first film, it's like that director was probably more of a fan of the slow burn horror films, and this director was more of like into like 1980s slashers. Like I could definitely see
That's
something
true.
like that going on.
Yeah, dude, the Masked Killer reminded me a lot of Jason. I don't know about you, Jason, and no, I would say Michael Myers, but not so much because Michael Myers was so much more stoic and so
Mhm.
much more slow. I don't know. No, this guy was slow too, though. I don't know. What do you think? Would you compare him to some sort of killer, Jason or somebody?
I He didn't really give me any Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers vibes because those two are just like I don't know. I think if I was going to compare him to anybody, it would be the Cupid mask killer from Valentine.
Don't
I don't
know
know
that
if you've
one.
seen that one.
Mm-mm.
It's a slasher film from 2001. It's not particularly good, but I do like the killer in that film. He reminds me like he was very agile. He's too agile to be Michael Myers because Michael
Yeah,
Myers is very stoic, very methodical,
yeah,
and one could even argue that he's not even human. Um, this guy is very much human, and he's stoic when he needs to be, but he also takes action when he needs to. He moves like faster. He
yeah.
runs. He drives cars. So does Michael Myers, but like he just like I said, he gets very vicious when he needs to be.
He does. Speaking of
And then
vicious, let's talk about the dad, the dad's death.
oh
Um,
yeah,
so the people that we have die in this movie, let's see, there's a body count of what? The mom or the aunt and uncle in the beginning, and then the mom and the dad. It's four people, and then the two girls. So there was six kills in this whole
yeah.
movie, which out of what, eight people or so. So yeah, that was pretty high body count for this one. And when the dad dies, his death was really impactful, I thought, and also just very hard to watch in the most respectable way ever, because they're like very very fastly just looking for the daughter or the sister, and they're driving in their vehicle, and they end up crashing into a mobile home, and he gets impaled through his stomach basically with this like 2x4 or something, and
Yeah.
he gives the gun to his son, basically asks him, do you know how to use this, and he's like no, and he tells him how to use it, and then later on like doesn't know how to use it. Like
Yeah.
that seems to be a
And
common trope from the first and
and
second one.
for you listeners, just think about what the host of the podcast just said. He's pinned in the car with a 2x4 through his torso. Like he is not feeling good right now.
No.
Some crushed bones. I think it pierced his lungs. He's gonna, if he's going to die, he's either gonna like choke on his own blood from blood filling up in his lungs. I just like you're right. Like I usually am used to seeing violent stuff happen in like horror movies and stuff like that, but like being pinned in a car like that and just like like
Yeah.
that made me feel something. That was kind of brutal, and especially when the son leaves, he has the gun, he's gonna go find his sister, and then the masked man doesn't say a word,
Nope.
just sits down in the car next to the dad, turns on the radio, and just looks at him. And that you find that kind of amusing, and then the guy like pulls out like a knife or whatever, and just like, yeah, I'm gonna
Oh,
stab
he
you and
pulls out
finish
like an
off the
ice pick,
job.
dude.
Yeah, that's
Like
right.
an ice
Sorry.
pick. It's fine.
And he just looks at him. It's like something out of a Tarantino film. Like I could see that happening in a
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino film. Like a masked guy just like sits there and turns on the radio. And another 80s vibe here is like all like the music, some of the songs towards the end and the climax are like straight out of the 1980s. I
Yeah.
think Total Eclipse of My Heart is in this film.
Yeah, it's in the pool scene.
Yeah, exactly. So like I think the 1980s vibe is intentional with this film, and that's
Completely.
something that the first film did not have at all. Like not even close.
Yeah. Well, that's why it kind of like threw me off a little bit, because
Yeah.
this is definitely a sequel, right? It's not a prequel.
It's definitely a sequel, yeah.
Yeah, because they killed the characters. So
And that's why I came around, because I'm like, dude, why do you hate this film so much? You love 1980s slashers. Stop being a prick and just watch it again. And I did. I watched it like 2 or 3 more times after I told you that I hated it that one night on the other podcast.
yeah,
And I'm just like, why did I ever hate this film? You know, it's too good to hate.
yeah, it is.
It's
And
not perfect, but it's pretty good.
dude, the opening, like the first act when you're getting to know the characters and the mom and the dad, and that was all super cringy, dude. Like especially like that moment when they go to a restaurant or something, and the daughter gets pissed about whatever, and she goes up outside and she's smoking a cigarette, like completely not realistic. Like I used to smoke cigarettes. That's not how you smoke a cigarette, first of all. And then
Yeah.
the mom comes out and does the complete cliche mom thing where the daughter's smoking and the mom like takes the cigarette and smokes it too. Like, I'm a cool mom. And it's like, no, dude, you're not a cool mom. Like, it's just completely cliche, and I couldn't stand the characters. But then, like, once the mom dies, I just felt like the movie completely was on full throttle. And every death, dude, like even the first killer girl with the blonde hair, dude, the daughter gets a shotgun and just like boom, dude, one in the stomach, and then the
Mm.
daughter or the girl's on the ground, and that's when she's like, why not kill you, pretty much. And then the daughter just like boom, right in the face, dude, like no hesitation, just caps him. And dude, like the maddest respect for just going for it, dude. Like there was no gun jamming, there was no like I need to really think about what I'm about to do, and then like she
Mm.
gets taken over by the killer. Like, dude, she just knows what she does. She double takes this kid and just boom, kills her. Like, what did you think about that scene?
That scene was, like you said, it was like brilliant, and that made me like I didn't like the main character that much, but that scene was just awesome. It just and I can relate, because I wouldn't even have asked her the question. I would have just stuck the barrel of the shotgun right up to that bitch's head and just blew her
Yep.
fucking head off. Fuck that. You're trying to kill me and my family. I don't need to know why. I'm just gonna kill you.
Yeah, dude. There's no talking. There's just shooting, and that's all that matters. And
Yeah.
then the son or the brother or whatever is looking for the daughter, I think, at this point, or somehow they get split up. I don't remember, but he ends
Mhm.
up going to the pool, and the pool lights all turn on. It's all dark at first, and then they turn on, and that's when you hear "Total Eclipse of the Heart." You see the lights of the
That's a
pool
great
on the.
song, by the way.
Oh, lovely song, bro! I love that song, and
Legendary.
it is, dude. I think Bonnie Tyler sings it.
Yes, yes, she does. She does a
Yeah,
damn
dude.
good job too.
Super raspy, man. It's like the
They
metal
don't
of
make them like they
vocals.
don't make them like that anymore, buddy.
Unfortunately, but at least we still have them to listen to. But that starts playing over the loudspeakers, and the boy Lewis is just, or Luke, I'm sorry, Luke is just looking around, and he's like, "What is happening? Where is everybody?" His mind is focused somewhere else, and from behind him, the other killer girl just sprints at him with a knife, and she goes to kill him. He turns around and just clocks her with like a golf club or something. Or remember, he like knocks her to the ground, and
I
then
think he kills her, right?
he doesn't kill her by hitting her. He hits her and knocks her unconscious, and then he like kicks the knife away from her hand, which is another genius move. Instead of just
Yeah,
like hitting her and then trying to like walk away to let her get the knife again, he like kicks it from her hand, and then he takes the knife and he just like plunges it into her, and he just starts stabbing her over and over again, and he gets blood squirted all over his face and stuff. That's when I was
yeah.
like, that's when I was just like, dude, this movie is sick. I love this thing.
I like. I'm like, bull. Sorry, tongue twisted there for a second. When I was first watching this movie, I'm like, bullshit. He just killed one of the strangers. I'm like, that's what the fuck.
Yeah,
I did not like that. But looking back, yeah, it was. I kind of put myself more into that character she is. I'm like, I would do the same thing. Like, fuck that. Like, I don't like. What I'm saying is, like, if somebody was trying to kill me like that, and I knew that they killed my mom, I don't think he knew at that point that his mom was dead, did he? I can't remember, but
no, he did
he
because
did. He did
yeah,
know.
because after the mom gets killed, the daughter escapes and she's running away because they can't find her, remember? So they're like driving and looking, and they end up going back to their place, and that's when the dad sees the mom, and he like lifts her head up and she's dead, and then the son's like, "Mom," and he like runs, and the dad stops him. And he's like, "Don't look, don't look."
Yeah, so like in the second viewing, I kind of tried to put myself in the character's shoes more than my infatuation for the strangers. And I love, like, they're a trio of master murderers, and I love horror films, and I love
Yeah.
the aesthetic and everything. But like, this person just killed this dude's mom. It makes sense that he would fucking destroy her.
Oh yeah,
So,
dude. Not just one stab and then like run away. Like he's just like he's gutting her, dude. Like he's Ghostface from Scream or something. Just like
yeah, I would do worse if somebody killed my mom. I would fuck you up bad
dude.
if anybody killed my mom.
I would too, but you also have to take into consideration that like that's not the final killer. Like you can't just take your time. You can't just think
Yeah.
about your emotions, dude. Like you need to understand, like, first of all, I gotta kill this girl, and there's still another guy out there with an axe. And
And he comes right in
yeah,
after that, right?
right after that, yeah. And he comes in, and dude, I loved that sequence when they're on the side of the pool, and
Hmm.
the boy, whatever, the brother Luke, he's like facing the masked man, and the masked man is swinging his axe at him like side to side, and Luke keeps dodging it. And then
Hmm.
eventually, like, they start fist fighting, and they end up in the pool, like fighting underneath the water. And dude, they just kept going from above water to below to above below, and I was just like, dude, I was like, as you and I both like filmmaking, we like making movies and stuff. And
Yeah.
once you start doing that, you definitely pay more attention to movies in that
Hmm.
sense. And just seeing the camera go from above and below, I was like, such awesome cinematography, dude. Such
One
awesome.
thing about this scene that I loved was the lighting, how the pool kind of reflected up that light, and it kind of a luminescence that was pervading that scene,
Yeah.
along with the lights that were above. It created a really refreshing atmosphere. As filmmakers, we tend to look at things more in a aesthetic way, more so sometimes than what's going on the screen, which I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like this battle between this mass killer and this guy who's trying to, get out of this situation. Obviously, I'm aware of that happening, but the lighting, the camera work, the music, what was taking place, everything just lined up perfectly for this for the pool sequence. It's one of my favorite scenes of the entire movie. Is just that pool sequence because of just everything just lines up for me.
dude, I can pretty much agree with all of that. And
Yeah.
in the same sequence with the pool, there is such a moment of like, dude, go, 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 like, because they're
Yeah.
fighting, and there's a moment where the son, or I don't know what to call him, freaking Luke, the brother.
Yeah.
I keep switching back and forth, man, but like there's a moment when after they're fighting, he starts to like dip out of there and he's trying to like run. And that's when you see that scene that was in the trailer where the masked guy
Mhm.
is like popped out of the water and chasing after him. And I honestly was like, just get out of there, Luke, just get out of there. And then he gets caught, dude, and then just the knife in the back. And he just starts bleeding into the water, and it looks like Jaws, and
Yeah.
oh my god, dude. Then the masked man just lets him float there dying, and he starts walking away, and even the trail of blood like follows the killer. And I just thought to myself, like, this is such a freaking beautifully made movie. Like,
Yeah.
dude, I love it so much. What'd you think of that
And
scene when he got stabbed?
well, it's important to note that I don't think the masked killer killed him because he killed the other girl, the other stranger girl.
Yeah,
I think he just did it because he came there to do that. I don't think like the thing about the masked man is that I really don't think he feels much of anything when he's like, zeroing in on somebody because like you haven't got to the end, but he like gets downed a good two times, right?
yeah.
Like he gets into that car accident, he gets set on fire, he manages to jump
Oh.
behind the wheel of a truck, and then this guy is just like relentless.
Yeah.
But like I said, I love that scene. I like the fact that he just left him there to die because I guess he didn't want to end him quickly. Maybe he did feel something, him killing his partner in crime, I guess. But yeah, it was good. It was heartbreaking to see that this kid put up such a good fight and he ended up losing in the end, which is like, that's reality. That happens all the time when shit like this happens.
Yeah, and then
So,
immediately following that, the sister
mhm,
like drags him out of the pool. And again, like, she was definitely one of our least favorite characters, hands down.
mhm.
Her acting wasn't very good. Her dialogue, her lines, like pretty much nothing about her was good. But she definitely did do the cool things where she like killed the one girl with a shotgun. She pulled her brother out of the water. Like that was pretty cool too. And then she's basically dipping out trying to run. And
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and then that's when the headlights pop up and the truck is chasing her down. I thought she was gonna get run over, dude. The first time I saw it, like
Hmm.
when she was running away, I was like, this guy's about to run her over, and that's gonna be the end of the movie. But
I was asking like, how the fuck is this guy still alive?
I know, dude. He was
But
like you said, he's relentless.
yeah, like I said, you don't need an explanation. Anybody else probably like I don't think this guy is any type of supernatural, but I guess his like it's scary to think that his pure determination is what kept him alive. And towards the end, uh, I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but it's hinted that he's not actually dead.
You're gonna have to remind me about that once we get there, because
When you
I'm
hear the
freaking.
music box in the yeah, I'll get to it in the end.
Well, we're pretty much we're almost there. So,
Yeah,
uh, oh my god, dude! One of my favorite sequences happens when there's like this lady and her son or something driving a truck home, and they're just driving down the road, and they see that the main girl, Kinsey, is like in the road, and she's like, "Stop, stop!" And then they like pull over, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And they get out and they look at her, and she's like, "Please, please!" And then the mom just like has this pure look of fear, dude. And then she like turns around and runs back into her truck. And at first I was like, "Dude, why are you leaving her?" And then I noticed that behind Kinsey was the guy again with the axe, and he like appears from behind her, and just they start going at it,
hmm.
and then eventually like, oh, I skipped a part. I skipped the whole truck burning part. I get it in the car
I
accident.
think that happens after what you're talking about because
Does
they
it?
after that
Yeah, you're
there
right.
was the cop, and that was another body count that you missed. Is the cop
Oh
that
yeah,
eventually meets up with the girl, and I'm not
that's
sure
right.
when the truck comes into play though. But she like gets into the cop's car, and then the truck comes out of nowhere and smashes into the cop car. I think,
Oh my
and
god. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I need to
sorry,
bring
we're
something up, bro. Like
yeah.
before I forget, there was a complete Scream ripoff. Did you catch it?
Remind me because it's been forever since I've seen the Scream movies.
Okay, you should go back and watch those. They're really good. But dude, it's if you remember in Scream at all, there's a moment where Sidney Prescott is running from Ghostface and she's outside and she gets into a police car.
Mhm.
I didn't even realize this. She gets into a police car and she goes to turn on the car and the keys aren't in the ignition. And then you hear tapping on the window and Ghostface is standing outside of the car and he jiggles the keys, like got the keys.
Yeah.
And then he like unlocks the car and he tries to kill her. And
That's in the first film, right?
the first Scream, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then in this movie, she gets into the police car after the police uh, guy is killed, and then she gets in the car, and the same thing happens. The killer taps on the window, jingles the keys on the driver's side, like got the keys, dude.
Bit
And
of a nod to Wes Craven.
I would like to just give it the benefit of the doubt and say that it's a nod to Wes Craven and not just a complete ripoff,
Yeah.
because that would suck. But I couldn't help but like think that and compare
I think if you're
to
going to
that.
make a slasher film, any director who's lucky enough to get studio backing, they've seen Scream.
Oh
So,
yeah,
like in Wes Craven, like R.I.P. man, one of the greatest film directors of all time, in my opinion.
yeah,
Um, I definitely, if I had a slasher film that I was working on, I would purposely put nods into my movie to just pay tribute to Halloween, to Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, because Scream is like it didn't hit the silver screens till 1996, but it's still a classic. You know,
yeah. Oh, for sure, dude.
I think it's like a lot of classics that we think of were born in the 80s and the 70s. Like Scream is one of those rare franchises that was born in the mid to late 90s. So,
Yeah.
that's why I have a reverence for it. It's because it managed to become iconic at a later time than what we, consider to be classic horror films.
Well, and the thing was that the classic horror films from the 70s and 80s and stuff, those started to die off. Like you had your
Yeah.
resurgence of those, and then horror was kind of a laughable media, and Scream is what revitalized horror. And then that's when you got your I Know What You Did Last Summers and all your new ones from the 90s. But you got to respect Scream for that, dude.
Dude, you know what you have to do? Speaking of which, the third I Know What You Did Last Summer movie, we have to talk about that.
I didn't even know they made a third.
It's called I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. Definitely check that out. And you can watch it without watching all three of them because it has no connection to the first two films. Just
Wow.
watch that and we'll talk about that at a later date.
Uh, all
Because
right,
I have
dude.
not seen many reviews on YouTube in general regarding that film, and I have a lot to say when it comes to that film.
Oh my God. All right, dude. I will definitely watch it. I will refuse to pay more than $3 to rent it though.
Have a beer next to you while you're doing it too.
Oh, I definitely freaking will, dude. Um then the very end of this movie pretty much is the cop car gets rammed by the killer in the mask. Um Kinsey jumps out. She's kind of like running for her life, and then the cars catch on fire, and the truck with the masked guy is like engulfed in flames, and so you think he's dead, and then all of a sudden you see him back up and then turn towards Kinsey. Oh yeah, and
Uh,
that's when he's chasing her down.
Yeah, I think the truck rams into the cop car, and he's trying to back away from the
Yes,
cop
yes,
car, but he can't. And you just see him staring at the girl, and somehow I think because of the collision, there's gas
yeah,
everywhere,
yeah.
and
It's
then she like
leaking.
lights him on fire, and that's how he gets caught on fire.
Yeah,
And then
thank you for reminding me of that.
he manages to break away from the cop car, and he like kind of like runs behind her with his his truck is completely engulfed in flames, and he's just like seared from head to toe, and he's still trying to kill her. So it's just like that as a horror fan, I appreciate scenes like that.
So, but you got to be as a horror fan and a director in a director's shoes. You have got to be so careful when you make decisions to do stuff like
Yeah.
that because this was teeter tottering over the line of basically like I had to suspend my disbelief a little bit
Yeah.
because how is a vehicle just engulfed in flames and driving? Like at some point, it's got to be even more engulfed with flames. It just kind of seemed like it just stayed put with the amount of fire that was on there, and there was no real threat to the killer at that point.
Yeah.
But also, when she lights the gasoline on fire, she uses a Zippo that she has, and
Hmm.
so at that point, that's when I was like, okay, now I see the connection from her smoking cigarettes to now, that's why she has a lighter. Okay, very good for thinking about that connection. Very nice, director, writer.
Yeah.
But then I don't know if you know offhand the name of the song that's blasting while she's being chased by the truck, but it definitely sounded like an 80s song.
Yeah, it was another 80s song. I can't remember the name of the song, but I do know it was like from the 1980s.
Yeah,
Again, a running theme with this movie is 1980s. They're paying tribute to like the heyday of slasher films from the
yeah.
1980s.
Yeah, and they didn't just have like scary music and then that song like slowly in the background quietly. They had that song, whatever it was, just blasting, dude, and that was what the soundtrack of the movie was at that point. And dude, I can tell you, like, I was even consciously thinking about that song, and I was like, they could easily have just made this some scary like banging on the drums, crazy orchestra like chase scene music, and they didn't. They chose to have a song that wasn't even scary by any means, blasting in the
Yeah.
background, and I think it like just tremendously impacted the movie in such a
Hmm.
positive way, dude. And that's why I'm saying when it was over with, I was just like, yes. I did not think I was gonna like it. I ended up not just liking it, but I ended up loving it, dude. And I want to go back and rewatch it now.
Yeah.
But you
Our
told
director, I'm sorry to cut you off.
no,
Like
it's
I
fine,
said,
dude.
I really don't mean to. What's his name again?
The director was Johannes Roberts.
Okay. That guy really knows how to, because sometimes when you introduce a situation like that where you drop in a song that has nothing to do, like it's not a scary song, but something scary is happening, that can be a bit jarring. But the thing is, he knows how to choose his moments, right?
Yeah.
Because
Uh-huh.
we've already heard 1980 songs throughout this entire movie, and having it come in towards the end there is just like the icing on top of the cake instead of being a jarring distraction. And that's another thing looking back as we're talking about this film on this podcast, I'm liking it more.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
So
because you're thinking about the scenes that are awesome, and like when you that's one thing that I don't understand about people who don't listen to podcasts. Like I don't know if you do or not, and if you don't, I don't understand why. Because
I do.
okay, so I listen to pretty much like nothing but horror movie review podcasts because I just want to know what
Yeah.
people's opinions are. That's why I'm doing one. And there's lots of times where I'm like, dude, I hated this movie. And then I'll listen to a podcast and I'll hear everybody's point of views. And
Mm.
it'll end up making me either like hate it more or understanding where they're coming from, or it'll also make me be like, dude, actually that movie, maybe it was pretty good, and I just
Mm.
had to hear it from somebody else's point of view. And dude, as you and I have been talking about this, like I already gave this movie high praise, but I'm liking it even
It,
more recapping it.
something that warmed me up to it is like I think I had watched it before the first podcast that we did. It was actually Being Scared, who was like, man, I loved that film. I'm like, what are you, stupid? That film was garbage. And then I just started thinking, I'm like, you know what? He liked it. Maybe I overlooked something. And then I actually went back and watched it. So shout out to Being Scared for like talking me into watching it again. Now I love the movie, and I enjoy talking and conversing with you about
Yeah.
this film on this podcast. And I'm like, why did I hate it so much the first time? It doesn't make any sense. Like I love the 1980s slashers. The killers were more ruthless in this film. The soundtrack was amazing. The cinematography was amazing. A little bit of a rough character chemistry at the beginning of this movie, but it really does pay off in a big
Yeah.
way. So I think like I wouldn't say I absolutely love this movie, and I'm going to stay with 7 out of 10. But I think I do appreciate this movie, talking about it more with another fan of horror films.
Oh, for
So,
sure. Two things I want to comment on. One is uh I forgot. So only one thing to comment on. It's kind of late for me too.
yeah,
Past my
for
bedtime.
sure.
But one thing that I wanted to comment was you were talking about when you throw in a movie or a song in a movie that has nothing to do with the movie, you're really risking it just being out of place and throwing off the tension or throwing off the atmosphere and mood of the movie. And did you see the new It movies? Did you see It Chapter
Y-
2?
Yeah, I love them.
Okay, well then I'm gonna challenge you on one specific moment that I hopefully you can clear up for me because I thought this was ridiculous. There's a moment when the one kid who is like I think is Eddie, who's like afraid of being sick or something.
Yeah,
Eddie, right?
Eddie Kazbrack, right?
Yeah. There's a moment he's like in a basement downstairs or something when they're in that scary house, and there's something that pukes all over him. It's like one of those Libras or whatever they're called. I forgot what
Yeah,
they're called.
yeah, yeah. I know
Um,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, it like pukes on him, and it goes from its super scary atmosphere and music and stuff to just call me Angel of the Morning, and it's
Hmm.
only for like 3 seconds. It's like just call me Angel of the Morning, and then it stops, and you're like, was that a mistake? Or was that like
Yeah,
intentionally put in?
I know exactly what scene you're talking about. I agree with you 100%. Those movies are pretty good. I like them. I read the book, so like I feel like they left a few things out that I would like to have seen, but this podcast is not about those adaptations. Anyway, another example that I can give to you was in The Conjuring 2, where the crooked man makes his appearance. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
That scene took me out of the movie because it's in such stark contrast to the feeling that they were going for, and now this goofy stop motion animation guy
Oh
is
man.
coming out of nowhere and like, I'm the crooked man. It really can just like throw you off. So our director with The Strangers Pray at Night, he really knew how to choose his moments correctly, because that's another thing that I can praise this film for, that its director had a keen eye for really just adding flavor in at the right time, because we gave two examples of It Chapter 1 and The Conjuring Part 2 was where directors threw something into a movie and it just completely took you out of the experience because it was just so, it just, I don't know, it just came off as goofy, and you don't want that.
Oh no, of course not. And that's why you got to be really smart with the things you do. It's like if you're going to take a risk putting something in that's completely unrelated to the content, you better know for sure that this is a good idea. There is no like maybe they'll like it. You need to know for sure like this is perfect. Um but you mentioned something earlier about the very end of the movie being like is the guy still alive?
Yeah, I feel like there was a slight hint to where maybe they were implying that this isn't over. Maybe he is dead. Maybe he is. Like I don't know, because it's left very ambiguous on purpose. But you hear some music, and I said music box, but I'm not entirely sure if that's the case. I don't know where music box appeared before that, but I know that we've heard the song that plays. I think it might be another 1980 song. It's been a little while since I've seen The Strangers Pray at Night. I did not watch it in preparedness for this podcast. Sorry, dude.
Thanks, man.
But
Appreciate it.
there is a song that plays towards the end, and she like kind of freaks out when she's in the hospital when she hears it.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
and
right, dude. I forgot all about that.
yeah, exactly.
Dude.
So I'm thinking that this is not over.
Oh no.
Maybe the guy is dead because he got burnt to a crisp, but maybe there is more strangers out there. I don't know. Maybe they're like
Dude.
part of a cult of people that go around killing people. We're going to get another night of Sam Hain, the Curse of Thorn, just like in Michael Myers. It's going to be
Yeah.
along those lines. I'm just kidding.
Dude, I completely forgot. Let me take us into that last final scene.
Yeah,
So what happens is after Kinsey, whatever, gets chased down by the Scarecrow guy. I keep calling Scarecrow guy like from Batman. The masked man. She hops into the bed of this pickup truck and she's like, "Go, go, go!" And they're like driving away really fast. And homeboy like jumps on the back of the truck and he's swinging his axe at her trying to kill her, and she
yeah,
ends up just like she has something and she like clocks him in the face or whatever, and
yeah.
he pretty much just like falls to the ground, and that's pretty much the last time you see him. You think he's dead, and then it jump cuts pretty much to her sitting in a hospital room, and you find out that the brother lived, and he's lying
Yeah.
in bed and he's hooked up to like some sort of breathing some sort of breathing something, and she's
There
just
goes
kind
his
of like,
baseball career.
oh right, oh this dude's done. And
Yeah.
she basically is like looking at him, and like you can tell that she's just like, oh my god, like everything we just went through has been insane. And then
Mhm.
from off camera, oh yeah, from off camera, you hear her knock at the door, and she pretty much like gets up and she's holding a cup of water and she looks, and she just gives this look of fear, like she's seen something. And I don't know if this means sequel, trilogy, or if this just means that, like you said, there's other strangers, or
Mm.
it's the guy ended up just like stumbling his way to the hospital, or maybe they ended up at the same hospital. Maybe like he was found alive on the road.
I think it would be a stretch to say that the masked man is still alive. I think he got burnt to a crisp. But then again, you don't know much about the strangers. You know that they like to kill people, they like to toy with people, but you don't know their motivations, and you don't know how many there are.
Yeah.
Like for all we knew, this could have been a completely different set of people wearing the same three masks from the first film. For all we know, that could be the case. So I think that this isn't over by a long shot, but I don't think it's the same guy that hunted her down. I think there's going to be a new trio of strangers that come out of the woodworks. If I was going, like, if we could speculate
Yeah,
on
for
how
sure.
we would, like, I'll go and then you go. How about that?
Yeah, yeah.
If I if I was leading the charge on Strangers Part 3, I would say we're going to pick up right exactly where Strangers Pray at Night left off. We're going to make this like in the hospital. There's going to be more strangers, probably more than three. And there's going to be like, you're going to get to know the hospital staff a little bit. We're going to go back in time. We're going to establish the characters in the hospital. And then uh, the people, the two kids from Strangers Pray at Night come into the hospital, and we're going to like it's going to be kind of like an isolated hospital. There is staff there, but it's not like one of those huge busy hospitals that you see in movies. This is like more of a secluded one, and like the power gets sabotaged, and like the
Oh,
security guards like, oh, something's going on here, we have to contact the police, blah blah blah, but they can't get through because the phone lines are cut and there's something blocking the cell phone signals. And then just one by one the strangers come in and pick off the hospital staff, killing their way to the people who killed their comrades, which is the two kids. That would be Strangers Part 3 for me.
dude. I kind of thought like the same thing as you were saying it.
Yeah.
I would just change a little bit about that. So what I would probably do if I was the director of the third one is I would have it start the same way you said have it start, except so what she sees is like the masked man or just somebody else in a mask that is basically like there weren't just three. There was just three
Yeah.
in the movie, and there was other ones coming or something. And you see somebody in a mask and a knife, and they just come in and slaughter Kinsey and her brother, and they just
So
finish the
you
job.
would bring back the burnt guy?
Maybe somehow he lived, or maybe not him, but it's just somebody else, right? Another stranger,
Because
like you said.
I'll tell you right now, dude. Like I may not be like on board with the idea of that guy, but if that guy came back and he's all burnt, like a burnt stranger with his mask hanging off his face and like his skull showing, I would be all about that. You know what I mean? Like you would have to subvert your expectations a little bit, but come on, this is a horror film.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love for the burnt guy to just get back up. He's not dead. He's burnt to a crisp, but you know what? He's gonna kill and technically him being engulfed in flames like that, he would be completely blind. His eyeballs would be burnt out of his head. But he doesn't give a shit, man. He doesn't care about the laws of physics. He doesn't care about being burnt. He doesn't care that his mask is hanging off his face or his skin's falling off. He's going to that hospital and he's going to kill this girl. I absolutely love that, man.
That'd be sick. And he finishes the job. And this is the opening act of Strangers 3. He kills the brother and sister right there, and then he shuts the curtain or shuts the door. You know what I mean? So like no one
Yeah.
knows. And then like you said, like pick off the hospital staff, but instead of just like picking them off, he finds like a new victim in the hospital. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like he just knocks at the door of like some random hospital room, and
Mm-hmm.
like they open up and it's like, is Tamara home or is Tamara here? And they're like, no, wrong hospital room, dude. Like, and just have the entire movie take place in a hospital where people are like
Uh,
hiding behind beds and in different rooms and stuff.
this setup in general, are you a fan of Supernatural?
The show?
Yeah.
No. I,
No, you're
I
not.
mean, I don't like the main characters so much, but
Have you ever seen it though?
I've seen a few episodes. It's a little corny.
Yeah, it is. I'll grant you that. It's not the greatest show, but there are a few good episodes. There's an episode where the brothers are trapped in a jail, and demons from outside are trying to get in this small little jail. Um, have you seen The Punisher? There's like another setup like that where like these like these assassins are trying to get into this small jail to get Frank Castle.
Uh-huh.
It kind of reminds me of that. Like if we're gonna go like if we're doing hypothetical, so we can
Yeah,
just like bounce shit off the walls here.
sure.
If we're gonna go all out on this, how about like not just more than three strangers? Like how about a whole freaking legion of them trying to get into this hospital, and they're all creepy. They all don't say a word. They're all just like storming this hospital to try to get to this girl. I love that. I think like you talk about subverting expectations and like completely going off the rails, and you already stepped your game up with Strangers Pray at Night. I love the idea of a cult, like just a massive cult of strangers trying to break into this hospital. I love that. I
Dude,
think
it sounds just
that'd be
like
great.
it sounds like the first Purge movie.
Yeah,
Remember, like,
do
yeah,
something like that.
yeah, dude. Um, that would be sick. Yeah, and then there was actually one last scare moment in this movie that I forgot to talk about that I really liked, and it actually made me jump, even though it was in the trailers. Kinsey is like hiding on this at this playground, like in a tube or something, and she says or does something, and then like out of the shadows, like one of the girls like pops out and is like, "We just started" or something like that. And it's
Oh
you
yeah,
remember
we're
that?
just getting started.
Yeah,
She's
we're
in the
just getting
tube, right?
started. Yeah, dude, like I saw that in the trailer and I knew that scene was coming, but when she popped out, dude, it still just it made me jump for some reason, and I was like, "Yes, dude! Like I love this. This is so
I think that was the first time the pinup girl, I think that's her technical name, ever spoke, because she did not say a word in the first film. I know that the one girl that knocked on the door said some stuff in the first film, like obviously it's Tamara Home, and she says a few more things throughout the film, but that is the first time you ever hear anything out of the pinup girl. So yeah, that was a very substantial moment in the film as well.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. Great moment of suspense and thrill and terror. Overall, man, I loved that scene. I love this movie. Um, it's definitely not a perfect movie. It's definitely not a 9 or like a 9.5, dude. But it's I think it's definitely underrated. And
Yeah, for sure.
I think you should just go back and rewatch it. Like listen to this podcast, dude. Not just, I
Mhm.
mean, not you, but people like listen to this podcast. You were here. You got the live show. Listen to the podcast, listen to our thoughts, what we thought about it, and
Mhm.
I really listen. Just really take in what we said and have that mindset next time you watch this. Or when you watch it for the first time, remember things that we said, and I feel like you'll like it, whoever is listening.
Yeah, if you're a fan of horror films and if you like stuff like Friday the 13th, Halloween, any of the classics, and you're a big fan of 1980s horror movies, you really will get a kick out of this. I think my problem was my expectations were a little bit unreasonable going into this film.
Yeah.
And upon repeated viewings, I've come to appreciate this film a lot more. And tonight, talking about it with you on this podcast has made me appreciate it a hell of a lot more than I did. And I think I'm probably going to end up watching it really soon because I talked about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to back. I'm going to have a movie marathon because we have a lot of those nowadays because everybody's trapped indoors. I'm going to
Yeah.
watch The Strangers and The Strangers Pray at Night.
Yeah, I'm a little bit in the doghouse right now. I kind of told you earlier, in order to ask my wife if I could podcast with you tonight, I had to admit that I watched it without her after she asked me not to watch it without her. And I told her, and she
Oh,
was
man.
like, "You freaking cheated on me, dude." And I'm like, "I know. I
Well,
apologize."
that's your problem.
Yep. No one else is. I didn't need to make that choice, but I did.
Yeah.
But I'll gladly rewatch it too with her, because you want to watch it
Yeah,
again. I want to
it's
watch it.
definitely worth more than one watch for sure.
Oh, oh yeah, dude. I'm excited to see things that I missed the first time as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Like my wife hates it, but I love watching the same movie over and over and over again.
heck
I
yeah,
don't know what it is. I can watch the Halloween movie, the original one, just 1,000 times, and I would just be satisfied. But like we're watching this again, I'm like, please,
yeah,
I don't want to watch Netflix shows tonight. I just want to, my brain likes repetitive stuff. So
yeah, dude.
yeah, just humor me.
Your
Please.
brain likes what it likes, man.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
if Netflix had Halloween on it, then you could watch Netflix more often. They need to up their
It
horror
depends
genre.
on which Halloween film they have.
True, that's true.
I could do without Resurrection. I have to have a few beers in me to watch the stomach that one.
Yeah, yeah, especially yeah. I feel you, man. Anyways, dude, it is like I said, way past my bedtime. I got to work tomorrow early in the morning, but I do appreciate you being on, man. I hope my listeners had a good time. Good time. I announced that you were going to be on it earlier, and people were like, "Yeah, unit." So I hope
All
they
right,
enjoy it,
man.
my man.
Appreciate it, man. Let's get back and talk about what is it, the third I Know What You Did Last Summer movie. We have to talk about that one, man.
Dude, I honestly like. I know you said I don't need to see the first and second to like the third, but I haven't seen the first and second since I was like a kid. So I kind of feel like I should just we should just do all three of them. And actually, that's Being Scared's favorite horror movie of all time. I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I know what you did last summer, the original
Yeah,
one.
the first one.
You know something, man. The first film was like it's just a piece of '90s. Like I don't know. There's something that movie is so 1990s that I love it. You know,
Oh,
it just takes me back
completely,
to simpler times, man. Back in
dude.
the '90s,
Yeah,
where you had to go to a payphone to contact somebody. You could go down to Blockbuster and rent a movie. That's how I used to watch all my movies back in the day. That movie it's one nostalgia trip for me, and the second one too. The second one's great too. But the third one, man, I'd love to
Or-
talk about all three of them with you though.
let's do it, man.
But
We'll set
it's
up a
going to be fun
trilogy.
talking about. It's gonna be fun talking about that third film though. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, absolutely, man. We'll get that going here in due time, my friend. But yeah, this is gonna wrap it up. Thank you everyone for listening. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Go definitely check out Unit 522's super dope, awesome narration channel as well. And is there anything you want to say, man, before you wrap this up?
We shouldn't be here.
You're right. We should be asleep. All right, brother.
Yeah.
I will talk to you later.
All right, man.
See
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Yeah.